I always thought family meant having each other's backs. Growing up in my brother Jordan's shadow was tough, but I was proud of the life I built. Despite my modest income, I maintained excellent credit through disciplined budgeting. Then came the bomb, discovering a $170,000 loan in my name I never signed for. When confronted, my parents calmly stated it was my duty to support the family genius. Let me know where you're watching from, and if you've dealt with toxic family dynamics, hit subscribe as we explore how I fought back against financial abuse. My childhood in suburban Ohio shaped my understanding of family dynamics from an early age. Our middle-class neighborhood provided a decent upbringing, but inside our home the favoritism was impossible to ignore. Jordan, 3 years. My junior captivated our parents with his academic aptitude. When he solved complex math problems in elementary school, my parents threw celebration dinners. My solid B grades earned mere nods. I still remember my 10th birthday when I received a second-hand bicycle, while months later Jordan got a brand new computer for his birthday because his mind needed proper tools to flourish. Despite the obvious preference, I channeled my energy into hard work, believing I could eventually earn equal recognition. During high school, I joined multiple clubs and maintained a respectable GPA while working weekends at the local grocery store. Meanwhile, Jordan was enrolled in advanced placement classes and private tutoring sessions. When I made the varsity basketball team, my accomplishment barely registered at the dinner table, overshadowed by Jordan winning a regional science competition. College created an even starker contrast between our experiences. While Jordan received a free ride to Northwestern University with my parents covering his luxury apartment meal plan and spending money, I cobbled together loans, scholarships, and worked 3 jobs to attend Ohio State. My tiny dorm room housed 4 students instead of 2 to save money, and my diet consisted primarily of ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches. Social life became an afterthought as I balanced classes with shifts at the campus bookstore, weekend security work, and delivery driving. Despite these challenges, I maintained good grades and graduated with a business degree. My graduation ceremony, attended only by my grandmother since my parents were at Jordan's debate tournament, felt like a hollow victory compared to the lavish party thrown for Jordan when he completed his freshman year with honors. After college, I dedicated myself to financial responsibility, while watching Jordan continue his pampered existence. My small apartment near the industrial district was far from glamorous, but it allowed me to implement a meticulous budgeting system. Every dollar earned was allocated with precision: 60% for essentials, 20% for debt repayment, 15% for savings, and just 5% for occasional small indulgences. This discipline slowly built my credit score from the low 600s to near perfect. I tracked my progress weekly, celebrating each point increase as validation of my diligence. Within 3 years, I accumulated enough savings for a modest down payment on a small home planning to purchase within the next 12 months. Despite my limited resources, I never hesitated to help my parents when they mentioned struggling with bills. Several times I sent hundreds of dollars from my emergency fund to cover what they described as temporary shortfalls, never questioning their circumstances, despite Jordan's expensive education consuming their finances. My financial independence became my greatest source of pride until an innocent-sounding phone call shattered everything I had built. My mother called on a Tuesday evening, her voice carrying that special warmth reserved for asking favors. "Ralph, honey, we need a small favor. Nothing major, just some paperwork. Can you join us for dinner Friday to discuss it? I am making your favorite pot roast." The dinner was suspiciously elaborate for a weeknight. Mom prepared courses I had not seen since holidays, and Dad uncorked an expensive bottle of wine. Throughout, the meal conversation revolved around Jordan receiving acceptance to an elite graduate program in economics. After dessert, my father cleared his throat. "Jordan has been accepted to a prestigious program that will set him up for an amazing future. The tuition and living expenses require some creative financing." My mother jumped in, explaining how their credit was already stretched from undergraduate costs. "We just need your signature on some temporary paperwork," she continued. "The loans will be in your name since your credit is excellent, but we will make all the payments. Jordan will earn so much after graduation that everything will be paid back quickly." Warning bells rang in my mind. What exactly would I be signing? And for how much? My questions were deflected with vague reassurances about standard education loans and reminders of how much the family had always supported me. My father leaned forward. Ralph, this is what family does. We all make sacrifices for the greater good. Jordan needs this opportunity. The emotional manipulation was effective against my lifetime of seeking approval. Against my better judgment, I reluctantly agreed based on their promise to handle all payments and paperwork. 3 months passed without incident until an unfamiliar number appeared on my phone. The loan servicer representative sounded concerned about a missed payment on an account I knew nothing about. Confused, I insisted there must be a mistake, but the representative confirmed all my personal information was correct on the application. After the call, I immediately pulled my credit report, discovering multiple loan documents bearing what appeared to be my signature. The total staggered me: $170,000 in student loans listed under my name. Each document featured slight variations of my signature, clear evidence of forgery. Physical symptoms overtook me as the betrayal sank in. My hands trembled so badly, I dropped my phone twice trying to call my parents. My stomach twisted into knots as I realized the years of careful financial planning were destroyed by people who claimed to love me. I drove to my parents' house that evening, my thoughts racing between disbelief and rage. The casual way they answered the door as if everything was normal only intensified my anger. When I confronted them with printouts of the loan documents, their lack of shame shocked me most. "We knew you would overreact," my father said dismissively. "This is an investment in the family's future. Jordan will bring prestige and financial success to all of us." My mother nodded in agreement, while Jordan lounged on the couch, barely looking up from his phone. "This is identity theft," I said, my voice shaking. "You forged my signature for loans I never agreed to." My father's expression hardened. "This is family duty. Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Jordan is our best chance at real success." Jordan finally glanced up. "Relax, bro. I will totally pay you back someday. This degree will set me up for life." The casual attitude toward my financial ruin left me speechless. I walked out without another word, spending that first night parked outside my apartment, unable to face going inside as my life crumbled around me. The first massive loan payment notice arrived a week later, demanding nearly $1,500 monthly. My budget calculations revealed the impossible situation. The payment represented over 60% of my monthly income after taxes. There was no mathematical way to maintain rent, utilities, food, and transportation while covering this new obligation. The credit monitoring app on my phone sent alarming notifications as my carefully built score plummeted 150 points overnight. The debt-to-income ratio skyrocketed beyond acceptable limits for any lender. When my apartment lease ended the following month, my application for renewal was rejected based on the credit check, despite 2 years of perfect payment history. My work performance suffered as sleep became impossible. Night after night, I recalculated figures, hoping to discover some overlooked solution. Dark circles formed under my eyes, and coworkers commented on my disheveled appearance. My supervisor warned me about declining productivity, adding professional concerns to my mounting personal crisis. Desperate for resolution, I arranged another meeting with my parents, presenting a structured plan for Jordan to assume responsibility for the loans. I arrived with spreadsheets showing payment schedules and transfer procedures, believing rational discussion might penetrate their delusion. "This is completely unreasonable," Jordan responded after glancing at my proposal. "I am a full-time student. How can I possibly make payments? Besides, I already told you I will take care of it after graduation. Why are you being so impatient?" My mother dabbed tears with a tissue. "Ralph, you have always been the selfish one. Jordan needs to focus on his studies without financial stress. Why would you try to sabotage his future over money?" My father delivered a lengthy lecture about family loyalty. "In this family, we support each other. Your grandfather helped me through college, and I did the same for your cousins. This is how families operate. Your resistance shows concerning character flaws." With growing horror, I recognized the systematic manipulation that had shaped our family dynamic my entire life. When I reached out to my aunt for support, she sided with my parents. "They have sacrificed everything for you boys. The least you can do is help your brother succeed." The betrayal deepened when credit card statements began arriving for accounts I never opened. Further investigation revealed multiple cards with combined limits exceeding $30,000. all carrying significant balances. The total debt approached $200,000, including the original education loans. Transaction records showed purchases far beyond educational expenses, designer clothing, weekend trips to Chicago, expensive electronics, and regular meals at high-end restaurants. Jordan had been funding a luxury lifestyle entirely on fraudulent debt in my name. When confronted about these discoveries, Jordan shrugged. College is about the full experience, not just classes. Networking happens at nice restaurants, not the library. These connections will pay off for all of us eventually. The mushrooming debt devastated my life plans. The home I had selected and begun application processes for became an impossible dream. The lending officer called personally to express regret about my rejection, citing the dramatic change in my credit profile. A promotion opportunity requiring relocation disappeared when the background check revealed my financial situation. Company policy prohibited moving employees with significant debt concerns, citing potential vulnerability to influence or pressure. My relationship with Sarah, whom I had dated for 8 months, became increasingly strained. Her accounting background made her suspicious of my sudden financial secretiveness. Relationships require transparency, she insisted, during our final conversation. Whatever you are hiding, I cannot build a future with someone who keeps secrets. Unable to explain the humiliating situation, I lost her along with everything else. Social media worsened the pain as Jordan regularly posted images of his luxurious student lifestyle. Pictures of rooftop parties, weekend skiing trips, and meals at Michelin-starred restaurants appeared weekly. A college acquaintance mentioned seeing Jordan at clubs more often than classes, raising questions about how educational the funds truly were. The final revelation came when Jordan posted photos of his new BMW convertible, describing it as a self-gift for academic excellence. When I called demanding explanations, he seemed genuinely confused by my anger. The loans covered living expenses and transportation counts. Besides, I needed reliable transportation to my internship. Through his former roommate, I learned Jordan was barely maintaining passing grades and had been placed on academic probation twice. The prestigious program that justified the enormous debt was being squandered on parties and material possessions while my life disintegrated. Financial survival required drastic measures. I secured a second job stocking shelves overnight at a 24-hour grocery store, working from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. before heading to my day position. The brutal schedule left only 4 hours for sleep between commutes, turning me into a hollow-eyed ghost of my former self. My health deteriorated rapidly under the crushing schedule. Constant exhaustion compromised my immune system, resulting in 3 respiratory infections within 2 months. Without adequate health insurance, I treated symptoms with over-the-counter medications while continuing both jobs. Friends stopped calling after multiple declined invitations. My brief explanations about financial problems discouraged further questions, and genuine connections withered under my inability to participate in even simple social activities. The isolation deepened when I moved to a tiny studio apartment in a dangerous neighborhood, the only rental that would accept my damaged credit. Despite these sacrifices, my parents continued requesting just a little more help with Jordan's expenses. Holiday gatherings became tension-filled performances where relatives praised Jordan's academic journey while ignoring my obvious physical decline. Jordan remained oblivious to my sacrifice, occasionally commenting that I should find a better-paying job if money was tight. My absolute rock bottom arrived unexpectedly on a Tuesday morning. The eviction notice taped to my door cited 3 consecutive late rent payments as grounds for termination. That same afternoon, my car emitted an ominous grinding sound before stalling completely, smoke billowing from under the hood. The mechanic estimated repairs exceeding $2,000, money I simply did not have. Riding the bus to my evening shift, I received a text from Jordan, announcing he was dropping out of the graduate program to explore other interests. The casual disposal of the opportunity that had cost me everything triggered something deep within me. My hands shook so badly I dropped my phone twice trying to call my parents. Their response was beyond comprehension. "Your constant negativity about the loans has affected Jordan's concentration," my mother accused. "If you had been more supportive, he might have succeeded." My father added that I should maintain payments until Jordan decides his next steps, as if continuing to fund my brother's indecision was reasonable. That night, alone in my apartment with disconnection, Notices for utilities scattered across the table, something broke inside me. For the first time, thoughts of ending my life seemed logical. The mathematical impossibility of recovering financially stretched before me like an endless dark tunnel. What purpose remained in working 80 hours weekly, just to watch my life crumble despite every effort? The final exploitation attempt occurred during a family dinner my parents insisted upon. Jordan arrived 30 minutes late, exuding excitement about his newly formulated plans. "I have decided to take a gap year traveling through Europe to find myself," he announced while piling food onto his plate. "I need to explore different cultures before committing to a career path." My parents nodded enthusiastically, my father patting Jordan on the shoulder. "That sounds like an excellent plan for personal growth." Then, as if discussing the weather, he turned to me. "We thought you could help with a small loan for the initial expenses. Just $15,000 to get him settled. The rest will come from our retirement savings." Jordan casually added, "The interest rates on education loans are so much better than travel loans. We figured another small one in your name would be easiest." In that surreal moment, clarity struck me with physical force. The exploitation would never end. There would always be another need, another justification for sacrificing my future. The family dynamic, established since childhood, would continue indefinitely unless I took action. Without a word, I placed my napkin beside my untouched food, stood up, and walked out. Their shocked expressions registered briefly as I closed the door behind me, but for once I felt no guilt or obligation to explain. That night alone in my apartment became a turning point as I researched options for fighting back instead of simply enduring. The free legal aid clinic downtown matched me with Patricia, an attorney specializing in family identity theft cases. Her compassionate but direct assessment validated feelings I had suppressed for months. "What your family did was criminal regardless of their intentions or relationship to you. You are a victim of fraud, not a failing family member." She explained the difference between criminal charges and civil remedies, outlining options ranging from full prosecution to negotiated settlements. The emotional struggle about potential consequences for my parents weighed heavily, but Patricia's gentle reminder refocused my perspective. "They made calculated decisions to sacrifice your financial future without consent. They understood the implications but proceeded anyway." For the first time in months, I slept through the night, my path forward finally visible. The next weeks involved methodical action instead of helpless reaction. I gathered every fraudulent document, recorded conversations with family members acknowledging their role in the loans, and consulted with bank fraud specialists. An identity theft expert helped compile a comprehensive timeline of the fraud, documenting each application and the resulting financial damage. Meetings with creditors established fraud alerts, while the legal process began unwinding the tangled financial web created without my consent. The most difficult step involved filing a police report naming my family members as perpetrators of fraud. My hand trembled signing the document, but determination replaced the lifetime habit of submission. Protection measures, including credit freezes and monitoring services, created a barrier against further exploitation. A formal letter to my family established clear boundaries and outlined the legal process underway. Weekly therapy sessions helped process the complex guilt and grief accompanying family estrangement. An unexpected ally emerged in my coworker Travis, who shared his experience recovering from similar parental financial abuse, offering practical advice and emotional support when isolation felt overwhelming. The formal confrontation with my family took place at their home, with my attorney present. I presented documented evidence, methodically maintaining professional distance, despite their emotional reactions. The shock on their faces when seeing the legal documentation suggested they never expected consequences for their actions. My father transitioned from dismissal to anger, then attempted negotiation. "We can work this out within the family. There is no need for outsiders or legal nonsense." My mother alternated between tears and accusations about family betrayal. Jordan's initial arrogant dismissal transformed to visible fear when my attorney explained potential fraud charges could impact his future employment opportunities. "This is serious overkill," he protested weakly. "I would have paid you back eventually." Maintaining calm detachment required every ounce of self-control, but I presented reasonable terms, acknowledgement of wrongdoing, transfer of all debts to their rightful names, and structured repayment for damages already incurred. This compromise allows us to resolve the situation without criminal charges if completed within 30 days. My father scoffed at the proposal. We did what was necessary for this family. Your ingratitude is the real problem here. When they rejected the compromise, I nodded to my attorney and walked out feeling simultaneously heartbroken and liberated by their predictable response. The legal process moved forward with formal fraud investigations by lending institutions and credit bureaus. Initial loan transfers placed responsibility back with my parents, while Jordan was compelled to assume liability for portions used for personal expenses. Their attempts at emotional manipulation, through extended family members, failed against my new boundaries. The credit bureau corrections progressed slowly but steadily. Each dispute resolution and account removal represented small victories in reclaiming my financial identity. The debt burden shifted gradually from my shoulders, allowing me to reduce my work schedule and begin physical recovery. My healing journey extended beyond financial reconstruction. Weekly therapy sessions addressed deep-rooted family trauma and patterns of sacrificing self-worth for approval. A support group for financial abuse survivors provided community with people who understood the unique betrayal of family exploitation. My friendship with Marcus, another group member, recovering from sibling identity theft, created space for authentic connection without judgment. Our Saturday morning coffee meetings became anchors in my rebuilding process, offering perspective and occasionally needed humor about our parallel journeys. Gradual credit rebuilding required patience and persistence. Small secured credit cards established new positive payment history. A modest but safe apartment in a better neighborhood became possible after 6 months of financial recovery. For the first time since the crisis began, I established an emergency fund, creating security against future uncertainty. My concept of family underwent complete reconstruction. Limited structured contact with my biological family protected my boundaries while acknowledging complex emotional ties. Holiday traditions transformed as I celebrated with supportive friends instead of enduring tense biological family gatherings. A new relationship with Alicia developed, slowly founded on radical transparency about my financial history and healing process. Her respect for my boundaries and experience with her own family difficulties created mutual understanding. Our connection deepened through honest communication rather than obligation or expectation. Finding purpose through helping other financial abuse victims brought unexpected healing. Volunteer work with a credit counseling service allowed me to transform painful experience into valuable guidance. The gratitude from people starting their recovery journey provided meaning beyond my personal situation. 2 years after that initial confrontation, perspective clarified both the pain and growth from the experience. My parents began acknowledging their wrongdoing through tentative apology attempts, though true reconciliation remained distant. Jordan demonstrated gradual understanding of the harm caused as real-world consequences affected his options. My personal definition of family obligation evolved to include mutual respect and consent rather than sacrifice and subjugation. Healthy boundaries became strengths rather than betrayals. My credit score showed steady improvement, crossing back into good standing territory after extended rebuilding efforts. A promising career opportunity previously impossible due to credit restrictions opened new possibilities. My small savings grew steadily as financial discipline continued without the crushing burden of fraudulent debt. Future plans reflected authentic values rather than desperate survival. The journey transformed my understanding of standing up for myself. Setting boundaries was not selfish, but necessary for authentic relationships. The wisdom gained about distinguishing between healthy support and toxic sacrifice informed every relationship moving forward. My engagement to Alicia represented perhaps the most significant victory. Building a partnership based on mutual respect and transparency created a foundation my family of origin never provided. Our shared vision included financial honesty and equal voice in decisions affecting both our futures. True healing came not from forgetting the betrayal, but from refusing to let it define my worth or future. The painful experience became integrated into my story without dominating it. Financial recovery paralleled emotional growth, each reinforcing the other and building a life authentic to my values rather than responding to external expectations. Have you ever had family members take advantage of your kindness or finances? What boundaries did you establish to protect yourself? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of overcoming family financial abuse. Your support helps others recognize these situations and find courage to reclaim their lives. Thank you for listening, and remember that real family supports your growth rather than exploiting your sacrifices.